my advice to everyone is, it's never too early. Build meaningful relationships, find ways to connect with them, and listen. It's not a one-time interaction. Networking isn't go and have that one cup of coffee.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Connect Over Coffee. Today, I am joined by Awab Habib, who is the Director of Basketball Partnership for Excel Sports Management. Awab, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thank you for joining me. I know you're super busy, so to get in touch with you and to get a hold of you, I really appreciate it.
Hey, we can all make time, so thanks.
All right, let's get into it. We're going to hit our 2-minute drill, and so just questions and answering to get us both warmed up and get us in the flow of getting those questions done here. You ready?
Okay, let's do it.
All right. Favorite sports team?
So the Yankees.
Yankees. All right. Favorite sports movie?
Moneyball.
Moneyball. Sticking with the baseball theme. Favorite athlete growing up?
First game I ever went to was a Lakers-Sixers game in LA. So just was a Kobe Bryant fan my whole life, and obviously still am. So
yeah. Favorite song that gets you hyped every time, like before a meeting or an event that you got to get pumped up for?
It's a really good question. There's a few, but I'd say as of late, I'd probably go Wants and Needs with Drake and Lil Baby.
Okay, that's a good one. I liked it. I like it. Drake, of course, and Drake. We'll just keep it with Drake. I like him.
Yeah, sure.
And then last question: before your cell phone, besides your cell phone and your keys, what is one thing you cannot leave the house without?
It's that saying: phone, keys, wallet. You got to have your wallet. It's you got your ID in there, your cards. So I just have to say my wallet.
No, that's a good one. I've left the house without my wallet and then realized and drove the speed limit the whole way to and from work. So
extra cautious.
Extra cautious, yes.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump into it. Relationship building. I know sometimes people, and even myself, we have a hard time reaching out to people when we see a job or a different opportunity, but we don't want to make it feel like we're reaching out just because we know them and they work for that certain place. Are there any type of tools or conversation starters that you usually use to open up that conversation?
Yeah, I think it's, you always want to find ways to connect with somebody. Whether it's you have a common connection through LinkedIn, or maybe you went to the same alma mater, or if there's, I think sometimes I'll find out that someone I'm looking to connect with previously worked at a past, employer in terms of where I've also worked, or I think there's a lot of different ways. So I always just try to find some sort of, intro soft connection. I think that really helps the conversation and just the connection overall be a lot stronger from the jump.
Yeah. All right. So after those initial connection, what are some things that you do to build upon that relationship once you made talking over coffee or tea? What are those things that you maintain to stay kind of relevant with them as you guys progress in the relationship?
Yeah, I think it's super important to really find, someone and everyone to be more of a peer-to-peer rather than you always looking for help or asking for a favor. I think something I do and take a lot of pride in is, very fortunate enough to be in the sports world, but try to find ways to also help them out. For example, if it's, I'm asking for an intro to somebody or an intro to a brand that I'm looking to connect with, and in return, maybe I'll just take care of them with a signed piece of memorabilia, or if I can help them out, I know they're in, New York City over the holidays, maybe just offer them some tickets to a game. So things of that nature, I think, go a really long way, just helps strengthen the relationship as well.
Yeah. And what would you say kind of going about, I know it's really popular, LinkedIn, just kind of hitting the like button. Is that enough just to kind of keep relevant with them? Or would you go the extra step further, personally DMing them, congratulating them on something or a milestone that they've done before?
Yeah, I think you gotta take the extra step, whether it be a message or, a big thing for me is, get their phone number, get their cell phone number. I think a text goes such a long way. I mean, I'll use a really easy example, but if you notice it's somebody's birthday, I think everyone will just, easily just DM you on Instagram, but the ones that actually take the time to give me a call or send me a text, I'll remember those. And it just, it hits home a lot more than just a quick little reply on social media.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. Your professional career here, you get to meet a lot of different people, from the brand side to the team side and even the player side. How do you build those connections with them? And then do you have to kind of switch up the way you interact with the player, interacting with the team, or interacting with the brand?
It's a great question. Everyone that I interact with is a little different. Even from the brand side of things, and there's a lot of CMOs or VPs of marketing at some brands that might be a little more culturally relevant or a little more hip, and some are a little more old school or old fashioned. And not that one or the other is a wrong thing, but you just try to find ways again to relate to each one. Whether it's culturally into music, or what if it's, are they really into sports? Are they not into sports? Or they strictly want to talk about how they're, better enhancing their own brand. I think everyone, you just try to find ways to relate in a different way, especially when it comes to talent. I think it's a strong side of what I can bring to the table too, is, I get what that culture is like. I was even just growing up and playing sports, not at the level that they've been playing at, but even just being around guys throughout college and high school. And even as a kid, I think it's having friends and having, peers that have played sports at the highest level. It's good to show off that skill set and understand, I know how they feel at times. I know how they feel after a loss, or maybe there's a quick uplifting text that you can send them that, maybe others don't even think about sending. So, in a lot of different ways, but everyone's pretty different.
Yeah. And then for, that student or that young professional who's kind of entering into their career now, what are some type of tactics that you learn when you're going into a meeting with the brand or with the team? How do you kind of study essentially before you go into that meeting so you can connect a little bit easier?
Yeah, I think it's just doing a little bit of a homework. I'm not the one to spend hours and hours like Googling their whole life, but just getting the basis of it. Check out their LinkedIn. If you see a quick article about maybe a partnership that brand's done in the past, just high level points that you can talk to. I think that's, it shows that you're into it, you're engaged, you're serious about, speaking about whatever you want to speak to them about. So again, doing a little bit of research before any interaction, I think it just shows that you're just a lot more serious than others might be.
Yeah, definitely. Now this is probably just like a personal question. When you're on LinkedIn, kind of, looking people up and everything, do you go in private mode so that they don't know that you're studying them beforehand, or you keep it 100 and, you're yourself when you go check them out?
I mean, yeah, it's funny. Even just through our organization, we have I don't know what the exact package is called, but from the LinkedIn package where, if we want to browse someone's LinkedIn, it doesn't show that we're viewing their profile unless they also have that feature. So yeah, if they know, and they know I'm checking them out, that's great. If they don't, all good. I don't think it would it necessarily matters too much, but I think to answer your question, I think I am showing private.
That was just a personal question. I was always curious about that when I go to study and who I'm presenting to. I keep it normal. I think I've only went in private mode maybe once or twice, being real strategic about something, but typically I don't switch it over. Just kind of going off of what we chat about your career, because you fortunately have had a great career. You've been with the Knicks, you've been with Excel for quite a few years here. Started out in Monumental where we first met. Has there ever been a moment where you had like your MJ moment, essentially experienced a moment where something someone said or did motivate you to be better or prove them wrong, essentially?
Yeah. I wouldn't say there's a specific moment in my professional post-college career that has really clicked like that. Fortunately enough, I've always really figured out and had a passion for what I wanted to do. And, fortunate enough, again, it's doing what I'm doing now. How do I help athletes grow their brand off the court? I think that's it's been a passion point for me for many years. And to be able to say I get to do that job now, it's a blessing. But I will say that there was a internship in college I really wanted, actually before I accepted the Monumental internship, that I wanted with the NBA, and unfortunately made it to the last round and didn't get it. But I remember just that moment, it really hit me and said, I gotta I gotta work harder. I gotta be better. And I didn't want to make excuses about it and think about, why did I not get picked for this, or it's just something I said wrong, or is my experience lacking? And I just said, you know what, it's there's no excuses here. Just be better. So if I had to think of one moment, that would be it.
Okay. Yeah. I think, one of the things myself and my team, we always discuss, like, what was that MJ moment for you? I've had a few, high school, college, professional career. And what I always take out of it is just kind of what kind of drives you, what's being better, and how can you move forward and kind of use that as something to do better. So, it's kind of always a good fuel, something to fuel your fire, as being an athlete, a former athlete, I guess I should say now, myself. But something that always kind of like just stood out was like, yeah, I remember you said, and it can be indirect too when you think about it. They probably didn't mean any harm by it, thought they were giving you great advice, but at the end of the day, it just kind of rubbed you personally the wrong way and motivated you to do better. So for any high school students, college students, or even early professionals, going back to building that network early on, what would you say some of the steps that you did in high school and college that prepared you for where you are now?
Yeah, I would say it's never too early to start. I think using your personal networks, using your classmates in school, using time. I mean, time goes so quick. I remember when I was a freshman in college, just arriving on campus and thinking about, how am I going to get to that dream job that I really wanted? And, there's a lot of trial and error. I volunteered everywhere. I tried to intern as much as I could for any opening that really made sense that was going to help me out to land that job. So, my advice to everyone is, it's never too early. Build meaningful relationships, find ways to connect with them, and listen. It's not a one-time interaction. Networking isn't, go and have that one cup of coffee and saying, okay, great, we're best friends now. It's how do we nurture those relationships, keep those people up to date. I mean, I made this Excel sheet in college, and literally everybody I met in the sports industry, I input in this spreadsheet. And every 3 months, I just shot them a quick email, personalized email. It was always 3 paragraphs, essentially highlighting something I've seen about their organization or their specific role, and just honestly acknowledging that. The second paragraph was updating them on what I was doing, current internships, current volunteer work, maybe some trends I'm seeing in the industry. And the last sentence, just asking for some advice. I'm not asking for a job. I'm not asking for them to make an intro. Just give me a piece of advice that you've seen that could be helpful for me. So I did that all throughout college, and it honestly went such a long way for me and for everyone I was meeting, because they knew I was thinking of them and knew I was serious about really curating that relationship.
No, that's excellent right there. That's something unique that I've never heard of myself, keeping them up to date of what you're doing in your internships and what you're doing there. So that's very unique right there. So finally, myself and the Connect crew, we always love to ask this question to anyone we chat with and to each other. We always call it the shit you wish you would have knew. So what's one thing you wish you could tell your younger self back in college, or when you're just starting out in your career, or a piece of advice that you would love to just give a college student or another person that's just early on in their career?
Yeah, that's a good question. And honestly, I'd say, when I was in college, I always had this dream job or goal of, where did I really want to see myself? And I think a lot of people ask this question, where do you see yourself in 3 years or 5 years or 10 years? But I think it's just, think a little smaller, take it a year at a time, or even a month at a time, or even smaller. I think, a lot of people get worked up about having these long-term goals and don't realize what they have in front of them at the time, and being the best version that you can in that specific role you have. So I think I just tell myself back then and say, listen, like, think smaller, smaller goals, have smaller goals for you, achieve them, realistic goals. So, it just builds up more stress, in my opinion. If you keep thinking about, wow, I'm not on pace to get there. I'm overthinking these types of little things that might not be as big as a deal as they should be. So I just say, keep it concise, and be the best version you can in the role and in the task at hand.
No, that's awesome. And like, it's just kind of like, I use that process as well. It's your goals that are smaller. I shouldn't even say smaller goals, but easier to achieve and knock
Yeah.
it off. But then you have your stretch goals, which is that 5-year plan, your 10-year plan there. So I like that. That's great advice right there. I wish I would have known in college growing up there. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I wrote it
For sure.
down, so we're good to go.
There you go.
So definitely thank you again, Awab, for chatting with me today. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Glad to be on here. Hopefully this information can help at least one person. That's the way I look at it. So if one person can take something away from this, then it's worth the time.
Yeah, definitely. And then if you want to see more content like this, and hit the subscribe button below, or tune into one of our social channels on IG, Facebook, and of course LinkedIn, and we'll be connecting with you soon. Thank you again.